Hey, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where we explore ways to get healthy, wealthy, and wise. With a combination of guest interviews and solo episodes, I hope you will be inspired and motivated to become the best of whatever you are. I'm Elle Russ, #1 best-selling author and subject expert with over a decade of helping thousands of people across the globe. Visit my website, elleruss.com, to learn more about free guides, masterclasses, online courses, and more. Enjoy the show. Hi, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about the double-edged sword of kindness. Is it a weakness or is it a superpower? Well, I think it can be both. And it's tricky because kindness is praised as a virtue. You've probably been brought up that way. It's almost every culture. But is it always a strength? I want to get into this deep dive and talk about when it's a genuine superpower and when it's a hidden weakness. And then how do you kind of take a look at your own kindness, give it an audit and ensure that your kindness and generosity is serving you, that it's not depleting you. All right, so you might identify with a few of these nuances and categories. Let's talk about the dark side of kindness. This is when kindness is a weakness. People-pleasing is like the most obvious way. Now, I talked about this in my book, probably many, many podcasts with Dr. Robert Glover, the author of No More Mr. Nice Guy, all about how to get out of people-pleasing. But people-pleasing is self-sabotage. So here's a good example of some overgiving, maybe some people-pleasing. Perhaps there's a caregiver, like an overworked caregiver, a brutal schedule. Maybe the caregiver is like staying late every day. Maybe they're skipping some meals. They're not getting enough sleep. And now they're developing chronic fatigue or, or they're not feeling well. And now they're resentful. Okay. That kind of kindness, it's not sustainable because it's coming from an obligation-y type of place. So aside from the overworking caregiver or the nurse or something like that, you could also have the yes man, right? We all know the yes man. Maybe this guy's a startup employee. He's agreeing to every single project. He's trying to be helpful. Maybe his quality of work's not that great, but the colleagues are sort of losing respect for him because they know that he's desperate for approval and like the need to be welcomed. Hi, look at me. I'm great. And so there are those two. And then we've got the psychology of people pleasing and what's behind it. Like, why do people do this type of stuff? If you're not familiar, let me just sidetrack really quick. People-pleasing is basically a few things. You're either agreeing to things you don't agree to, you're saying things that you like that you actually don't, or you're flat out lying to people, and you're doing all of these kind of things for a few purposes. It could be because you're afraid that someone won't like you, or you want someone to like you. You're afraid of getting rejected. It could be for the purposes also of getting something. But either way, people-pleasing is lying. It's extremely inauthentic. You are not showing up. And it could be anything. It literally could be like a guy that you like, who you have a crush on, said that they love Chinese food and would you like to go to Chinese food for dinner? And you're like, oh my God, I love Chinese food, but like you really don't like it at all. But you're just trying to agree because he loves the Chinese food and you want to be, you want him to like you. You're afraid he might not like. So you're just agreeing to this bullshit, like that kind of stuff. But the psychology behind it is sort of a lesser known trauma response called fawning. That's where you're using flattery, appeasement, maybe over kindness. And the reason you're doing this is to kind of disarm threats. Look, I think every woman has been there in a situation in some capacity in their life where you're like, I'm feeling weird around this guy or this situation. And you're like, I'm just going to be nice so I can kind of just de-escalate this or get out of here or stop talking to this person that seems like they're crazy, like that kind of vibe. So if you're a woman, you've probably been there. But here's the thing. This is not those moments. So when those moments are you're trying to avoid danger and you're using the playing nice and the appeasement and flattery or whatever that stuff is as a smart tactic to get out of the danger. The other part, just general people pleasing is life. This is if your life is about appeasement and over kindness, the threats you are getting are not real threats. They're self-propelled threats. They're self-perceived. You're perceiving that there's a threat that there isn't, but it's not like a real threat. Look, it's not always the case, but a lot of the roots of fawning come from when you're a child, and maybe you had some unpredictable parents or caregivers. And, this is the kind of scenario where, like, let's say a parent is really cruel to a kid, and the kid sort of just kind of like laughs it off or whatever to avoid escalation. It's kind of like that whole, if I'm sweet and if I'm nice, they won't escalate this. This won't continue. If I'm sweet and I'm nice, maybe they won't continue to hurt me or continue being nasty to me or continue that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be physical abuse. It can be emotional, psychological abuse, etc. So, and then as an adult, what do you do in those situations? That trauma sort of gets you into an over apologizing, over giving, mirroring others' opinions, and even sort of tolerating abuse, not drawing boundaries because you want to kind of keep the peace. And you don't even need to have trauma or have been abused. You can just have been present for it. Let's say you're a kid, both of your parents were always fighting. You were sort of the middleman. Maybe neither of your parents were nasty to you and they weren't abusing you, but you kind of witnessed it. You felt on edge. You were, maybe you were always trying to get the dad not to be mean to the mom and that kind of thing. The diffuser. That's sort of standing on a bucket of eggshells limbo category. You know what I mean? That's gross, right? But you might have had to be a fawner in order to keep the peace in those situations. And so when the fawning is happening, then kindness becomes a freeze response. The body and mind are like, oh my God, all right, look, make yourself small, be helpful, be nice, just survive, keep the peace. So, look, even especially humans, but in hierarchical species, low status individuals sometimes use submission or generosity to avoid conflict. You can look this up, but they did a whole thing with chimpanzees who are grooming alpha males, that kind of thing. You're like, okay, I see it at work right here. But when you are a low status person, which would be people pleasing, right? That's a low on the rung. You are more prone to meet narcissists, right? Or other people that might exploit you or take advantage of you or bully you. And so you become a target. And then there's sort of another type, which is manipulative kindness. And it is people pleasing, but it's manipulative, less fear-based. So here's an easy one. This could just be, we've all even seen it in a movie or dialogue, right? Like the guilt-tripping parent, right? Where a parent's like, I have sacrificed everything for you. You owe me, that kind of thing, right? That's a very love is transactional situation. That's what that is. So another example might be, could be the nice guy. And again, I mentioned Dr. Robert Glover. I've interviewed him several times. He wrote an amazing book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's been out for a while, and it's like the end-all be-all of trying to cure yourself of people-pleasing. Even if you're a woman, even though it was written for guys, you should get it if you feel like you really need to heal from people-pleasing. So the nice guy scenario of manipulative kindness might be the situation where the guy is friends with the girl, but he really likes her, the neighbor, whatever, and he's doing all of these helpful things for her. He's, helping her run errand. Oh, I'll fix your drain pipes, like whatever, that kind of stuff. And then when she rejects him, he's like resentful. Oh, I did all this shit for her, right? We've all heard the classic case of like, oh, the guy buys you dinner and expects you to have, sex with him. That's such an old kind of trope, but still, there are parts of that where a guy might feel that. I'm not trashing guys here. I'm just saying this overall, it could be a woman too. But again, expecting something, using kindness as a manipulative tactic, you're doing something for the hope of something in return. And then when it doesn't happen, you get resentful. Manipulative kindness or people-pleasing, it's this term from No More Mr. Nice Guy that I love called covert contracts. These are like unspoken deals, okay? So this would be, internal dialogue like, if I'm kind and if I'm nice, then they'll give me X, Y, Z. And the reason they're called covert contracts is only one person is privy to the contract, right? The other person has no idea that they're part of this contract. So the contract's always going to fail. right? Because the other party has no idea they're even involved. How can you even win or satisfy the contract you do not even know that you're a part of, right? You could have someone using kindness as a narcissistic way to gain control. So, in that manipulative kindness nuance, you're talking about cult leaders, right? Love bombing new recruits, right? Things like that. Or it could even be a narcissistic dude who's just trying to get chicks, to sleep with them or whatever their game is. And, they love bomb them, promise them all these things, and then, ditch them in 3 months. And when we talk about kindness manipulators, they often really have a Machiavellian intelligence, which is like they weaponize social behavior, or actually like pro-social instead of antisocial, pro-social behavior. What do I mean by that? It's well, the Machiavelli from The Prince. It refers to it's like a strategic, manipulative social style. You're using charm. You're using deception, you're using calculated kindness, like all of this stuff. You're trying to control others and advance your interest. So it's not like outright aggression or bullying or any of that kind of stuff. The Machiavellian types, they're just exploiting this pro-social behavior like the generosity, right? The flattery, the altruism, helping out as a tool for power, right? And so this could just be someone who's constantly offering to help you, but then they're like taking credit for your ideas or whatever, right? Um, yeah, like I mentioned, romantic partners love bombing someone early on, gifts, all the overtop compliments, all this kind of stuff. It's happened to me before. Maybe it's happened to you. And what that love bombing is doing is sort of creating a dependency, and then they withdraw it, and they withdraw the affection, and that's the intention to manipulate. So these Machiavellian types, they know society rewards kindness, right? And so they're going to mimic it to gain trust and exploit it, and that's their trajectory. That's just sort of how it goes. The cult leader Charlie Manson is a crazy example because he used love and communal living and all this bullshit to actually get blind loyalty from people and convince them to murder others. I mean, oh my God. So, why does this kind of kindness work on people, this Machiavellian bullshit? Well, society praises selflessness, right? So, manipulators are going to exploit this. They're going to exploit this halo effect. I'm so selfless. Look at all that I'm doing for the world. I'm helping you, right? And it works on people because there's also some cognitive dissonance. It's like the victims of these people can't imagine, like, well, they're so nice. They're helping me all the time. Like, what do you mean? They can't be using me, right? Because you doubt someone who's so nice and caring or does certain things in the world and are on the board of philanthropy for starving children or whatever, that they couldn't possibly be the bad guy. So that's the cognitive dissonance. And it's a gradual escalation. Usually these people start small favors, small gifts, blah, blah. Then later, demands come or covert contract reciprocality, which, you are not privy to. But then we have kindness as a strength. I mean, this is the ultimate. This is authentic generosity. And this is where you actually get the helper's high. This is where you're feeling so good about the giving you're doing. Well, I don't know. Let's just take a retired teacher who's I can think of one of my friend's mothers, a retired teacher, and she's volunteering at like a kids group. I don't know if it's like an after school reading program or something, some nonprofit. And she goes there and teaches them how to read or reads books to them. I'm not sure exactly, but she's feeling euphoric when she comes out of there 3 times a week. She's not feeling drained. Right? And why? Because the love hormone is released during her bonding with these kids. It's lowering stress. It boosts trust. The dopamine, the generosity that's authentic actually activates the reward pathways. Your brain is like, yeah, let's do that again. You see someone smile after you've done a thing and it fires your own joy circuits. It's like you're mirroring neurons. So this stuff is amazing. But what you want to make sure is that it's authentic because that's where you're getting the benefits versus the resentments of doing it from another place. And there is an evolutionary advantage of reciprocal altruism, I guess if you could call it, because the early humans, our hunter-gatherer ancestors, living in tribes. It's like, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. I mean, that shit was survival back then. And what would that be like? That might be like them sharing meat with another tribe or something to maybe ensure future reciprocity. But true altruists have boundaries. They avoid the freeloaders and the scammers and the con artists. And that's what you got to do. There's boundaried kindness. So let's say you donate a huge amount to charity, but it's anonymous and you're not getting any credit. No social credit whatsoever. That's an example of something altruistically authentic when it comes to kindness. And then let's get behind the psychology of healthy kindness. Healthy kindness usually let's talk about secure attachment, because people who are raised with stable love to sort of give freely and unconditionally, those people are usually not desperate for validation. So let's just, how would you know, like, am I secure attached or what? That secure attachment means it's like a healthy emotional bond between a child and their caregiver, right? Usually parents. So what are the traits of secure attachment? Trust. You trust your caregiver's availability and their responsiveness. You have comfort with closeness and comfort with independence. You have effective emotional regulation and resilience in stress. Exploration of the world, knowing that like a safe base exists, that's a vibe. So in adults, it translates to stable, trusting relationships with balanced intimacy and independency, not being codependent, right? So, and this is rooted in consistent caregiving during childhood. Now, if you didn't have it, that's okay. You can still develop and become securely attached, but that's sort of where it would come from. That doesn't mean you can't be securely attached and become a person who's desperate for validation and people pleaser. Okay, so just want to start there. It goes both ways. Not everyone with a great upbringing, has escaped people pleasing. But they're not desperate for validation. So let's get into talk about healthy kindness, but also how do you know if your kindness is healthy? How do you audit your own kindness? I would just ask yourself in any moment where you're going to be giving something or saying something, does this act of kindness or generosity or whatever it is, or this offer to help that I'm about to do, is it going to fill me up or is it going to drain me? Ask yourself, am I feeling obligated? Ask yourself, if no one ever found out that I did this, would I still do it? That's a great one. And if not, then don't maybe. If I wouldn't get the credit for this, would I still do it? Ask yourself, are you expecting something in return, even if it's subtly? Are you expecting something? And then you can do even like a little physical body check, because genuine kindness and authentic kindness is warm, it's light, it's a flow state, it feels good. You're like, yeah. But a fawning type of kindness or a manipulative type of kindness or a people-pleasing type of kindness, that junky type of kindness feels heavy. It feels tense. It feels like, oh, I have to do this, like you're resenting. So suss yourself out. You know what I mean? And how do you do a little behavioral test where you can start off with a small request, like saying no to something small? Like, let's say someone at work asks you to cover their shift. Just say no and observe. Are you feeling guilty? Are you feeling relief? If you're feeling guilty, then you probably got some people pleaser work to do. And if you're feeling relief, then you just need to draw more boundaries, because your kindness is depleting you, not invigorating you. And so how do you upgrade it? Well, just perform one anonymous act of kindness. Pay for someone's coffee. I don't know, donate something to a charity without telling everybody. And notice the difference in your energy versus something that's obligatory. Because kindness is really only a weakness when it's not a choice. Because at its best, it's a huge force. It propels so many good things, too, into your life. It's the kind of thing that heals the giver as much as the receiver. So take a look at your daily life. What are you agreeing to? What are you saying yes to? What are you offering? Are you offering stuff people aren't even asking you to offer? You're just over-giving, over-offering? And then you're like, damn, why did I offer that? Like, oof, there's a sign. You throw out an offer and you're like, shit, I should never fucking said that. Now I have to do that. And it's almost like you blame the person for the thing that you scheduled yourself to do. Like you agreed to, you offered it. So you got to take a look at, is that happening a lot? It used to happen to me. I used to be an overgiver, and then I had to check out of that. And now I just say, no. You know what I mean? Do I really want to lend that person money? Do I really want to go offer this thing or this favor? How many times have you offered something and regretted it? Just go back and do a little bit of an inventory in the last couple of years. I know someone who recently had some, not exchange students, but essentially like kids from another culture into their home. And they've done this for a few years in a row, but I guess they complain every year, and they've been complaining this year. And, it's like, because these kids are dependent on the host family, and there's a lot to do. You got to drive them everywhere. You're entertaining two kids in a new country in your home, right? And so even though she was going about the motions of taking care of all of this stuff, she was kind of complaining about, like, oh, I'm so exhausted, so much time. Blah, blah. It's like, why are you doing this? Well, because I think it's important to do. Okay, great. But like, is there something else that you could give your time that would make you feel good to do that also didn't suck for you? And so it's like that reluctant volunteering, like, no, I hate it, but it's a good thing to do. It's like, well, maybe there's other things, Or is she doing it to say, see, this is what we do every year. We're good people. And it's all about the appearance and the stamp credit on the fucking sheet of what you did for your life? But could you just donate money to the company that fosters this environment, or donate? Like, is there another way you can contribute or do something that would still put in forward motion whatever the vibe of what you want to put forth? Like, maybe you need to sponsor a kid to do it, but you don't house them yourself, right? And so, got to take a look at that. What kind of things are you doing, or charities you're involved with that you're doing because you think it's a good thing to do, but whatever the associations with it are taxing you? And then if you're like, you know what, it does suck, but I just think the outcome is so great, then great, shut up and suck it up. And every year, it's going to suck, and just do it. Don't complain about it. So take an audit of your overgiving and your kindness and your generosity. Take a look at the boundaries or lack of boundaries. Do you have covert contracts going on with people? Are you a people pleaser and you really need to get out of that and work on it? Ask yourself those questions I proposed. All right, you can visit my website, elleruss.com, to find out more about courses and all of that good stuff, or coaching. Thank you so much for listening. Please, if you have not yet done so, please write a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps get the word out about the show, and I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this show, I would so appreciate you leaving a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And to learn more about partner discounts on amazing products, visit elleruss.com/discounts.